Hi, George here. And today we're going to be removing this sky, replacing with a better sky. And this time we'll do that with the background eraser tool. You find that right over here. Here's the erasers, and it's that one right there, the background eraser tool. And it's a special kind of tool. As you can see here, it comes in with this circle with a plus sign on it. Let's just zoom in a bit on the left-hand side over here. And back to that tool. There we go. Now the way this works is you put that plus sign over the part you want to remove, and then anything inside of that that doesn't match what you're looking at is going to be ignored, and everything else will be removed. I can just do that and see how that works. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy. Now the problem with this is the tolerance up here. The higher the tolerance, the broader range of colors it's going to be grabbing. So if you have any blue, for instance, coming in here like we have right there, let me just change over here to the pointer tool. There we go. If you have any blue showing in here, it could remove that blue. As you can see right down here, and give you some transparency along that edge, which is not really what you want. So you want to bring that tolerance down as much as you can, but not all the way, not too far. Let me just back out of this. There we go. Back to that tool. And let's set that tolerance here down to about 20. I think I'll just type that in. There we go. And we'll see how that works. The much better, we have no transparency showing in here, but a little bit of blue showing on there. And that's fine. We'll remove that in a later step. Now up here, you also see we have limits, contiguous and discontiguous and find edges. We're going to be using discontiguous for this. Contiguous means it's going to be only grabbing things that are in the area that the circle is over that are touching other parts of that area. For instance, contiguous would miss this little blue bit up in here. So we'll be using discontiguous, and we'll then remove that part of that image. Another problem on this picture, I'll use the Control 0 to go back to fit screen, is that the windows in here are kind of the same color as the sky up in there. So when we change the sky, we'll also need to change the coloration in the windows to bring those more in line with the sky color. We have this little vent up here, I'm guessing for the house's heater system. And notice that the blue here is very close to the blue out here, so this can cause us a problem right there. And also, right down here, behind this rock, we have a couple of trash cans hiding in there. We need to fix that as well. So a few things to take care of on this picture, but not that bad. So we'll start off by just removing that background. Let's go up here to File and Revert, go back to the original image. And before you work on anything like this, it's a very good idea to make a backup of your background layer. I'll right-click and choose Duplicate Layer, choose OK. Hide that one. This is now a safety. In case things get messed up here, I can always go back to my safety layer right there without having to re-import from the original image, any of those kind of things. It's saved right in this same file. Okay, so far so good. Let's go ahead now and just remove the sky. We'll be doing this in 2 steps. And we'll zoom in over here left-hand side. And that's probably pretty good right there. Hold the space bar down. You can move your image around, just kind of drag it around like that. Let's go back to that background eraser tool. I'm going to bring my size down. That's pretty large. Let's bring it down to about half of that. I'll try 30. That's nicer. I kind of like that size. We already have our discontiguous set and tolerance at 20. That should work out well for us. And I'll just paint right along that edge. There we go. And it's doing pretty well. Now up in here, notice that we have some more of that blue on that edge right there and some blue kind of spilling off into the side here. We'll fix all that. And here's where the discontiguous comes in. If I paint in here, too far on that, let me just Control Z and back out of that. If I paint in here, I can actually get some of that now. It's a bit too far in. Let me see if we can catch it this way with that plus sign right inside, and that worked. Okay, that was fine. Now pull the image around, and this thing, just go ahead and go clear around this image and take out just this first row here of the background. Now, when you're doing this background like this, Photoshop is taking a look at the sky, it's taking a look at that edge, it's finding the edge. It's doing a lot of figuring in here, and that takes up a fair amount of processing power as it does that. And because of that, it's a little bit slower. You can kind of see how it's staggering or jumping as I move this thing across. You see it right here, just kind of jumping along there. Also notice right here, it's just a little ways off. That's because of that tolerance of 20. But we'll leave that. I think we're okay here. Now, because it's looking for edges and all that kind of additional work in here, it's just a little bit slower. when it does this. So this is not the right tool to use to remove all the rest of the sky. For that, we're going to switch over to the regular eraser tool and use that, and that would be much better, go much faster.
If I use the regular eraser tool, much better for that job.
Let's just get this a little bit right in here. There we go. Okay, just working our way around the edge in here. And there we go. So now let's switch over to the regular eraser tool right there. And I have it set with a hard edge. And we can just erase this whole thing. Notice how there's no delay on that because it's not having to do all that additional thinking. It's just erasing whatever I'm going over. So much better to use this tool when you're working with this kind of a large area erase where it's all basically the same thing. So we'll just finish this off. I can actually go for a larger size on this. We'll take this up to 70. And that'll go even faster in here for us. More area to cover. There we are. Just be careful, of course, right around the house. You don't want to be going too fast in here and mess things up. Always better to take a little bit more time and do a better job than it is to mess up and have to redo anything. There we go. And we'll take all that out in here. In around there. There it is. Now we're getting a little bit of a haloing in there. A little bit of a fringing of that light blue sky. We can try the defringing in here. We'll see how that works. But probably not really that important. So I have a different trick for fixing that. Okay, there we go. Almost finished with this part of the process. As you can see, it goes pretty fast. Actually, we're just erasing out that sky area in there. Not much involved in doing that. And we're over on the other side already. Just kind of swipe that across in there. And get around this edge here. Get the last little bit of that original sky. So we're actually removing pixels in here. One of the reasons why I prefer doing this kind of job with a layer mask is I can go back and fix things. In this case, I can't, but that's why we have that background saved down there. Now, there are times when you may want to do it this way and not use layer masks. It depends on what you're doing. So this might be the proper technique for some uses. Let's now see if we can clean up that edge just a little bit in here. I'll go up to Layer, come down to Matting down below here. We'll try the defringe and 1 pixel, see what that does for us. Okay, that was really kind of strange. I don't like that effect at all. Let's just Control Z to get rid of that one. So that really didn't work out for us. I have a better technique in any case for us. Let's take care of that. And that's to desaturate this and make it into a grayscale. Almost everything in here will work out fine if that's a gray tone. And it will look very natural. So for that, let's go over here. We have the Dodge tool, Burn tool. And you want the Sponge tool right there. The mode, I want to have this at desaturate. I'll put the flow here at 100%. No reason to be any less than that. And on the brush, this can be a hard edge brush. It doesn't matter. That brush is a bit on the large side. So bring the hardness up. That should be fine. Bring the size down just a bit to about 15, 16. That's pretty good. That's actually 17. And now simply brush right over that edge. And notice how it's converting the blue into gray. And the gray is just blending right in with that part of the picture. Now, sometimes it may take a few runs like this over it. And some blue in here, but I think this wall will actually hide that for us. The wall's almost gray anyway. And that worked out fine. So all I have to do is just paint over those edges in here. Turn those blue edges, blue coloration into gray. And it's going to look very natural and very perfect. And the reason we need to do this, even though I'm putting a blue sky back in again, is that the blue sky we're putting in is a different blue from this blue. This is very, very cyan. So it's going to have a different effect than the other blue, and it will look odd. You'll have an outline showing because of that odd coloration. But if we make this here into just a nice gray tone, we'll be fine on that. Okay, across here, we'll take care of this thing in just a bit. We'll come back to that after we finish this step. Let's go clear around and convert all this edge in here over to a grayscale. Just remove all the coloration from that. There it is. And down over here. If there's a lot of color in the area, be a little careful about this. so you don't take out too much of anything you don't want to have changed. So I'll just go very carefully in here, like that, and then down this edge, and that's going to finish off that part of the project. There we go. That is done. Okay, now we have this thing to fix. Easy to do. Let's bring our background back in again. I'll hide the new foreground layer, and let's just zoom in just a little bit, like that. We'll go up here to the polygonal lasso tool and make a new selection. And let's just make a selection right around this thing. With this tool, take your time. You're putting in just little dots, and then Photoshop comes in and connects those dots and makes a line with it. If you have a curve, just use more dots. If you click too fast, it does that. It's going to collapse. We can just then add in more to that. We're fine here. And let's continue on. And we'll add this into that selection. There we go. My mouse is being a bit picky tonight. Be just a little bit more careful with this. These selections like to collapse on you. So just take your time and do this carefully and you'll be okay. There we go. Okay, back to the beginning in here. Double click and there's our selection. Let's now make a new layer out of this. Layer, new right here, via copy. Drag that above our new background. Let's bring that up. And there that is fixed. I'm just going to merge these two layers together. Select both layers, right click, and let's merge those layers. There we are. And then remove the blue coloration from that. So we're back to our desaturation tool right here. And let's just take out that blue. There we go. And that's perfect. A little bit of blue right in here. I still see, because it's not really going to show. All right, that's good. Control 0 back to fit screen. So that's done. We've now removed the sky using that background eraser tool. Worked out very, very well for us. We can now bring in a new sky. So I'll bring up my new sky file, and I have that right here. I'm just going to float this window. There we go. That way I can grab that background layer over here, just drag it in there, drop it in, and get rid of that. Okay, let's go back to our move tool here. Now on this, notice at the bottom we have a light coloration down here. It goes more blue up here, more saturated, and less saturated and lighter. The clouds get thinner down here, and they get whiter and puffier up here. This gives us that effect of there being a horizon line back in it. So I want to have this part of this showing in the picture, but I want to keep some of this puffiness up here as well. So what I'm going to do is take this and just shrink this. I'll go to the bottom center control handle, hold the shift key down. We can then squeeze that up, kind of like that. That should work out fine for us. I'll then take this layer and pull it in behind or underneath our house layer. And then I'll pull that up so I get that horizon showing. There it is, just past that. So right in there is about right. So we have that nice gradient happening in there. Makes it look far more realistic, and a few clouds up at the top. Let's start off working on the sky and those windows by adjusting the values here, our color values in the sky. I want to make this a bit richer. Let's go up here to Layer, come down to New Adjustment Layer, and we'll do Levels, and use Previous Layer, check that, choose OK. And I can brighten this up a bit, bring the white side in just a little bit. That brightens it up. That's nicer. Bring the mid-tone in here to the right just a bit to bring a bit more richness. And that will bring in more of a brightness or saturation to this. I think that looks really nice. Okay, let's do one more of these just for a bit more tweaking on the saturation. Layer, New Adjustment Layer. This time let's go for a Hue Saturation. And use Previous Layer, choose OK. And I'm going to boost the saturation just a little bit on that, not too much, just a touch. And I think that looks really nice. Okay, so that's taken care of. Let's now deal with these windows. They're still the wrong color. The quality of that brightness is about the same, but the color is still wrong. So let's go up here to our layer 1. This is our house layer. Back up here to image this time, come down to adjustments. And let's come down here to replace color. And in here, I'll use the eyedropper and just click into the middle of one of these window panes. Right there, there's that color. And let's just pull the fuzziness back until I begin to see just those windows showing. If possible, you can see the middle window right in here. And I think that's pretty good. I want to have that as far down as I can, and that's about where it's going to stay, right about in here. That should work out okay. Now we can adjust the hue, saturation, and lightness. And I want to have this match kind of the area right up in here. So do hue first, and I think a little bit towards the right side is better. That's actually pretty good right in there. That looks like it matches up here nicely. Let's bring our saturation back just a little bit. And bring our lightness down just a little bit, or actually up, I think. And I'm looking at it, maybe about in there. And that's looking pretty good. Let's do our fuzziness up just a bit more. And that's a much better match. Let's preview that. There's before and here's after. And I think that's a lot closer. Maybe it's a little bit too purple. Let's back it off just a touch. And right there, before, after. Much better match on the sky color in the windows. So that's taken care of. All we have left now to do is to take care of these trash cans right down in there. So I'll go to the zoom tool and then I'll scroll in on the trash cans. And grab the spacebar and move that up. Let's now just make a little selection around our trash cans in here to protect this rock in front. So I'll use the polygonal lasso tool and I'll start right down here at the base, right on that sidewalk area. And let's just make a nice little selection right around this rock in here. Again, with this tool, don't click too fast or it's going to collapse on you. I have a bad habit of doing that. I get a little bit impatient. I click too fast. And then the selection is only just part of what I want. And then I have to go back and add in the rest. We've already seen how that has happened in this video. So take your time, be relaxed about this, and you won't have that particular problem. So I'll come around just the rock itself. And then once this is done, we're almost finished with this rock part. We'll then pull our selection around those trash cans, right down to here, straight across, and I'll just come up and out here a little ways like that. And back around to our starting position, which is right down here someplace. Right here, double click. That finishes off that selection. Okay, now we can work inside here with our clone stamp tool without worrying about hitting that rock and causing problems. So back to the clone stamp tool. Brush size is too large. I'll use the left square bracket to bring our brush size down. And that's, I think, pretty good right here. Alt key to grab a spot of that. Come down here, I'll just line up those bricks. And this just clone stamp some of that in. I'll grab some of this bush right here and pull that over a little bit. There we go. And grab a little bit more of this brick effect in there. And then some of this brick right here, I'll pull that over. There we go. And some of this stuff right down here, get that last little bit of blue. Okay, that trash can is gone. Same thing over here. This trash can, I'll grab some of this right up in here. Alt and click. And let's just take care of that trash can. Same thing right here. And we'll grab this bush and I'll pull the bush over. And a little bit of that wall right there. And that's solved. Those are all taken care of. I want my brush size bigger now. Let's get this pretty large. And I'll grab something right up in here. Alt and click. And I'll bring it right down here. And that just helps to kind of blend in that area in there. Okay, I think that is good. Maybe just a little bit more right there. Okay, that's fine. Control D to deselect. Let's go to Control 0 to jump back out again. Trash cans are now gone. And there we go. There's the finished picture. And if you like this video, make sure you hit that like button. Click on share, click on subscribe. If you want to learn more about how to use Photoshop, take a look at my complete training course for Photoshop. You'll find that in the link right down there in the description. And I'll see you next time.